So I want to talk about a new character or like a new situation in the life of a person. Um, like in movies and stuff, when something bad happens to us, um, we usually react. We usually do something stupid, right? And we do that, and then we are like, I didn't know that I had that in me. I didn't know I was capable of doing that kind of thing. So this character is someone who, when something bad happens to them, they just freeze. Right? Like, just imagine like one of the worst things happens to someone, and they're just in the room and they're frozen, not doing anything. Like for hours, nobody might come, and they're just standing there. They don't know what to do, so they're just standing, not moving, not eating, until somebody comes and sees them and be like, what the hell, and stuff like that. So, I think that's the kind of person that I would be because, whenever I do something in my life, it feels too big, like I am scared of taking steps sometimes. It's because this, like, before this point of my life, I have basically lived inside my head. And life inside your head is a lot different than life that you can live, like your actual life, I realized that it's like, when you imagine something, it's like you can imagine a wall to be very, what do you call it? Very smooth. You can imagine a surface to be very smooth. But when it comes to real life, it's like a rigid surface. You get what I'm saying? Like, when you imagine something happening, you usually you're like, if this happened, that would happen, then that would happen, then this would happen. In real life, it's much more complicated. You're like, okay, if this happened, this would happen, theoretically, that should be happening. But then in real life, there's so many so many things that you never expected to come out of something that looked so obvious, So this is a character that doesn't know how to react to things. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. And they don't know how to live life. They looked at other people, but all of the other people might also be wrong, and they're aware of that. So in their life, they also don't want to be confident in, they literally don't want to have an identity because they believe that every single morning when they wake up, it's somebody new, It's never like the one that was yesterday. And that's why they stopped labeling themselves, because they realize it's stupid. They have a name. Their name, I think, is so they go by a lot of nicknames. They never really, every single day, like every single person that asks them their name, they answer differently to everybody. Their real name, I would say, that should mean, like, have the meaning of confident and like somebody who knows what they're doing, So it's a bit ironic like that. They're not sad, like, they're very shaky. Like, if they encounter somebody weird, they're probably gonna be very shaken up by the whole incident, Like, it's too easy to confuse them because they don't have a solid foundation. They're like very shape-shifty too, Like, for every single person that they know, they act the way that that person would want them to act. Because they believe that there's nothing beneath the surface, you know? There's nothing, there's just whatever you can see. Like if you see a red-haired woman, that's what that is. There's nothing underneath. That's just literally what it is there. So she probably feels like an actor. And she doesn't know what life is, so she just deals with whatever the life is throwing at her, and that is it. Other than that, there's nothing. They don't want to think about the meaning of life right now, because it confuses them and depresses them. So they just decide to live, survive, and sleep, go to sleep, never think about what this whole thing means, because we never get to. And sometimes things don't have to have meaning, you know? Like this is something that I struggled with. I never had friends in my life. Like I did, but like usually I was like the most lonely person in the classroom. So when I started having friends, I started thinking of friendship as some kind of an exchange. Like I never made friendships for no reason. I never connected with people for no reason. I always had a reason in mind. But then I saw somebody who was talking about this issue. They were saying that there's so many people that think of friendships and connection as something that should have, like if there is nothing for the person to gain from the connection, they just decide not to communicate, you know. I've never been in a situation where I was just able to communicate. Like I didn't have the option to, like I didn't have many options. I just had one person maybe who wanted to connect with me. And so I've always been like thinking of talking to people for something, like not being able to talk to people for no reason. You know, that's where I lived. But hearing somebody who was able to make a lot of friends, but then realize that their friends were being friends with them because of something, like there had to be a reason, made me feel like, yeah, like sometimes we should do things for no reason. Like we should connect with other people just to connect, you know. And we should live just to live, you know. Yeah, so this character doesn't know anything and doesn't want to know anything because it's too depressing. She just lives, which I think must be bothering her. I think her name is Windy. Windy is her name. She moves wherever the wind goes, basically. She moves through all the rigid parts of the life and sleeps and does nothing in the rest, basically. Which is such a... It must be bothering her, you know? At some point it must be depressing to just be like, this is life. And that's the end. This is life, you know? And that's the end of the sentence. She doesn't read books because she's not interested in other people's ideas anymore. And she doesn't write books because she's not curious anymore. She doesn't feel any curiosity at this point of her life. Let me remind that this is not her full character. This is just a point of her life where she feels this way. I'm just trying to explore a point of life that a person might be feeling. Her name is Wendy, and this is what she feels like right now. We don't know what she's gonna feel afterwards. We never learned what she was feeling before, but this is just a point of a life. And so many other people might have experienced this point of life, but yeah,